Hello, you're about to watch Video 1 of Module 2. Video 1 deals with identifying and understanding topics and main ideas. My name is Robert Durr. I'm an assistant professor of English here at Danville Community College. You're going to need a couple of items with you while you watch this video. The first thing you're going to need is your textbook. We'll be discussing exercises 3.1 and 3.2 at the end of the video. You'll also need a pen or a pencil and your guided reading and viewing notes. You should be completing the guided reading and viewing notes as you watch this video. You'll also need your vocabulary cards because some of your vocabulary words will appear in the exercises at the end of the video. Before we can move on to talking about topics and main ideas, we have to have a general idea of what a text is. A text can be a single paragraph or it can be multiple paragraphs. And a paragraph is made up of 4 different parts. We have the topic, which is the subject of the paragraph. It's what issue, idea, thing, or person the paragraph is going to be about. The main idea is the point the paragraph is trying to make about the topic. We have details, which are the sentences that explain or support the main ideas. And transitions, which are the words or phrases that are used to connect ideas in a paragraph or connect paragraphs to each other if you have a multi-paragraph essay. Topics. The topic of a paragraph is the subject or idea being discussed in the paragraph. A topic can be a person, a place, a thing, or an idea, kind of like a noun. Topics are subjects or ideas that are general enough to cover everything that's being talked about in the paragraph, but specific enough to exclude information that's not included. So, for something to be the topic of a paragraph, it has to be broad enough that it covers all of the details or examples or events that are being talked about in the paragraph, but it shouldn't be able to include anything that's not in the paragraph itself. All of the details of a text need to discuss or support the topic. So all of the details in a paragraph have to be related somehow to that topic. Now there are a couple different ways to identify a topic in a paragraph. The topic sentence is the most important subject or idea of a text. Every paragraph is going to have a topic sentence unless it's the introduction paragraph. If you have a multi-paragraph essay, the introduction is going to conclude something that's called the thesis statement, which is very similar to a topic sentence. But the topic sentence itself is the idea that the whole text explains or supports. So if you look at a paragraph and you identify that sentence that everything seems to connect to, you know that that is your topic sentence. Or, to identify the topic, you can ask yourself, what is the one thing the author is discussing throughout the entire text? Because the topic of a paragraph or a text is going to be addressed throughout the whole thing. You're not going to switch from one topic to another. You need to have a topic, or your topic will be something that is discussed throughout the entire thing. If you notice that you are switching from one topic to another, then you know that you have not identified the topic correctly. So what we have here is an example paragraph that I'd like you to read through, and then at the bottom we have 3 possible topics, and I want you to identify what the topic of this paragraph is. Remember, the topic needs to be broad enough that it is an umbrella and covers everything that's discussed in the text, but is narrow enough that it doesn't include anything that's not talked about in this paragraph. So, we have the paragraph. Steven Spielberg is an extraordinarily successful movie director. He has directed some of the most successful films of all time. As a result, he is one of the few directors today who can claim a percentage of his movie's profits. In addition to commercial success, Spielberg has enjoyed a fair range of critical success as well. His most critically acclaimed film, Schindler's List, won the Academy Award for Best Picture as well as the award for Best Director. The profits from Schindler's List were donated to charity. Now our 3 possible topics down here are the success of Steven Spielberg, Schindler's List, or Steven Spielberg's Academy Award. Which one of these 3 topics covers everything that is talked about in this paragraph. If we say Schindler's List, does that include everything that's talked about here? Not necessarily, because we talk about he's an extraordinarily successful movie director. That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Schindler's List, because we're talking about all of his different movies. One of the few directors who can claim a percentage of his movie profits, well, that doesn't necessarily have to do with just Schindler's List. That deals with all of his movies. So we know that B is not the correct answer. What about C, Steven Spielberg's Academy Award? Is this paragraph just addressing that issue? No. This is the only part where it talks about the Academy Award, down here. We have the rest of the paragraph up here that's not dealing with that. So the answer has to be A, the success of Steven Spielberg. And that covers everything here. And notice, here's the topic sentence. Steven Spielberg is an extraordinarily successful movie director. And then we go into examples of why he's a successful movie director. And Schindler's List and the Academy Awards are details that support the idea that he is a successful movie director. Now let's move on to main idea. The main idea is a little different from the topic because it's the central message or point of a text. Not the idea that the text is about, but what the text is trying to say. So to find the main idea, first we have to locate the topic. We have to figure out what the topic is, just like we did in that practice exercise. Then we think about what the author's feelings about the topic are. What is the author saying about the topic? Does he agree? Does he disagree? We have to think about the feelings. And topic and the feelings about the topic equal the main idea. So the topic, or the main idea, is a little more subjective, meaning it has more opinions and more feelings in it. It's not just necessarily a factual statement. It's something that the author tries to prove throughout his or her text. To identify the main idea, you need to ask yourself, what is the author saying about the topic? Not what is the author talking about in the paragraph, but what is he saying about the topic he's talking about? The main idea is often stated in a sentence called the topic sentence or main idea statement. We're going to refer to it in the video as the topic sentence, but some books like to call it the main idea statement. So if you hear main idea statement, think that it can mean the same thing as topic sentence. So identifying the topic sentence. We said that every paragraph in a text will have a topic sentence, unless it's your introduction paragraph, which will have a thesis statement instead. But every body paragraph, to be an effective paragraph, needs to have a topic sentence. And there are two possible ways to identify this topic sentence. The first is you can read through the paragraph sentence by sentence and evaluate each sentence to find the one that describes what the point of the paragraph is. It describes the topic plus the author's feelings on the topic. Or you can look away from the paragraph after you're done reading it and state its main point in your own words. And once you've come up with that statement in your own words, go back into the paragraph and find a sentence that relates to the one that you've come up with on your own. The topic sentence is developed, supported by both specific and general details. We'll talk about these details in Module 3. Right now we're just going to focus on identifying the topic sentence in different paragraphs. The topic sentence can appear in 3 different places in a paragraph. The most traditional way is to have your topic sentence as the first or second sentence of the paragraph. So more often than not, the topic sentence is the first sentence in the paragraph. You'll have your topic sentence, and then you'll have supporting details that explain or give examples about this topic sentence. The second way that authors tend to place their topic sentence is by having the topic sentence at the end of the paragraph. They'll give details and support and then give their main reason or their main argument. And the last way, and the most uncommon way, you won't see this one very much, is the author uses sentences before the topic sentence to introduce the main idea, and then uses sentences after it to explain or support the main idea. So you might have 1 or 2 sentences before it, then you have your topic sentence, and then you have one or two sentences after it that help explain or support it. So the sentences before the topic sentence introduce what the paragraph is going to be about, and then the sentences after the topic sentence explain or support. Now this one, as I said, is the most uncommon one. You won't find this one very much. The most common way is to have the topic sentence at the beginning. So let's look at an example passage, and then we'll look at topic sentences and main ideas. So, the dark side of being famous revealed itself on the night of March 1st, 1932. On this night, the 20-month-old son of Charles and Ann Morrow Lindbergh was kidnapped from the couple's brand new home in New Jersey. The kidnapper entered the Lindbergh house by means of a homemade ladder and left behind a ransom note written in broken English. Following the kidnap, a man with a German accent called and demanded $50,000 in ransom. Although the ransom was paid, the baby was not found where it was supposed to be. Eventually, a truck driver discovered the child's corpse near the Lindbergh home. Now, based on the passage on the previous slide, I would like you to try to identify the topic and the main idea. Now remember, topic is the subject, idea, person, place, or thing that the whole paragraph is about. So, we have three options. Famous kidnappings, the Lindbergh kidnapping, or Charles and Ann Lindbergh. Which one of these three topics, or possible topics, covers everything that was discussed in the paragraph, but is small enough not to include things that weren't talked about? If we look at A, famous kidnappings, did we talk about any more than just the Lindbergh kidnapping? No. So A can't be it. That's too broad. We have something that we don't talk about more than one kidnapping, so it can't be famous kidnappings. Is the paragraph about Charles and Ann Lindbergh? Is it giving information about their life, who they are, what they did? No. So the topic has to be the Lindbergh kidnapping, because that's what the entire paragraph is about. It's just about the Lindbergh kidnapping, what happened, the events in the sequence, and the outcome of the kidnapping. Now, main idea. Remember, main idea is the topic plus the author's feelings on the topic. So we have two choices. The Lindbergh kidnapping illustrates fame, that fame can have a dangerous side, or the Lindberghs never got over the death of their child. If we look at this, B, the Lindberghs never got over the death of their child, does it say anywhere in the paragraph before that the Lindberghs were never able to get over the death of their child? No. The Lindberghs kidnapping illustrates that fame can have a dangerous side. If we go back, the dark side of being famous revealed itself on the night of March 1st, 1932. Okay? That is pretty much the same as saying fame can have a dangerous side, and then we know the rest of the paragraph is about the Lindbergh kidnapping. So this is the topic plus the author's opinion. Okay? The topic illustrates that fame can have a dangerous side. So we have topic plus author's opinion, and that's your main idea. Now, we're going to look at exercise 3-1 and 3-2 in your textbook. If you haven't completed these exercises yet, please pause the video, complete them, and then restart the video. Exercise 3-1 is asking you to identify the topic of each paragraph and underline the topic sentence. So you're asked to do two things. You're going to identify the topic sentence and identify the topic of the paragraph. So question number 1, or paragraph number 1. An amoeba can do an unusual mathematical trick. It multiplies by dividing. After it has grown to a certain size, the amoeba cell can divide in half to produce 2 amoebas. In about a day, the 2 amoebas have grown to the point at which they are ready to divide to form 4. The day after that, there are 8 amoebas, and so forth. How many amoebas will there be at the end of the week? Okay. First of all, if you notice, amoeba is one of your vocabulary words. So if you're unsure what that means, pull out your vocabulary card. Now, I've underlined the word amoeba because it appears multiple times in the paragraph. That's a little trick you can do to help you identify the topic. If something appears multiple times, or if the author repeats something a number of times, there's a good chance that it's going to be the topic of the paragraph. Amoebas is what this paragraph is about. An amoeba can do an unusual mathematical trick. It multiplies by dividing. This is what the entire paragraph is about. Okay? So, amoeba, and the author's saying that it's an unusual mathematical trick. That's the author's opinion or statement about amoebas. And that's what the rest of this is going to support. Here we have supporting details that give us a process. It describes how the amoeba divides by multiplying, and it also gives us examples of how it's an unusual mathematical trick. So this first statement is what everything else in this paragraph is supporting, or describing, or giving an example about. So that's why this first sentence is going to be your topic sentence for question 1. If you look at question 2 then, the great development in your near future is the portable electronic library. A library not only of books, but of films and music. It will be about the size of an average book and will probably open in the same way. One half will be the screen with high definition full color display. The other will be a keyboard, much like one of today's computer consoles, with the full alphabet, digits, basic mathematical functions, and a large number of special keys. Perhaps 100 keys in all. It won't be as small as some of today's midget calculators, which will have to operate with toothpicks. So, the topic that this whole paragraph is talking about is electronic developments. Specifically, the electronic development of the portable library. Sentence 1 here, the great development in your near future is the portable electronic library, is going to be your topic sentence, because all of the rest of the paragraph describes this electronic library. Okay? We have the size of it, the screen, the keyboard here, and then we get to talking about the keyboard a lot. Now don't be mistaken. This is not going to be your topic sentence. The other will be a keyboard. Okay? We've underlined it because this one gives students some difficulty, because they think that there are 2 possible topics here. But the other will be a keyboard is still describing the portable electronic library. Okay? So the first sentence again is your topic sentence, and the topic of the paragraph is electronic developments. If you look at paragraph number 3, I'm not going to read this one. You can read it yourself and go through it that way. But I want to note a couple things before we talk about the answer. Okay. Notice imagery here is used a couple times. Okay. In the first sentence, we have it here and we have it here again. So remember that trick. If something is talked about multiple times, there's a good chance that it's the topic of the paragraph. So the topic of this paragraph is going to be imagery. Now, the first sentence here, one form of distraction is imagery. That sentence is just giving us the topic. Okay? The author's opinion or statement about the topic is going to be this sentence. Creating a vivid mental image can help control pain or unpleasant physical symptoms. So, that sentence is going to be the one that is supported throughout the rest of the paragraph. Okay? Not the first one. This one gives us what the author is saying about the imagery, and it gives us then what the rest of the paragraph is going to talk about. if we look at question number 5, the last one, in 1985, scientists discovered that high-altitude ozone layer, which shields organisms from harmful ultraviolet radiation at thin greatly over Antarctica. Ozone is produced by the action of sunlight on atmospheric oxygen in tropical regions and is transported to high latitudes where it is destroyed. Chlorine compounds produced mainly by humans appear to be the main cause of unusually high rates of ozone destruction. Ozone is now seriously depleted at very high latitudes where conditions favor its destruction. So, ozone is the topic of the paragraph. It's the idea or thing that's being described throughout the entire paragraph. And then the topic sentence is at the end of this paragraph, not at the beginning. This is the statement that the whole paragraph is about. Ozone is now seriously depleted at very high latitudes where conditions favor its destruction. This is what the author is saying about ozone, okay? Is now seriously depleted. So this sentence becomes our topic sentence. In exercise 3.1, you're asked to locate and underline the topic sentence of each paragraph. So this is paragraph 1. Make a loud noise and infants only minutes old will startle and may even cry. They will also turn their heads towards the source of the noise, an indication that they perceive sound as roughly localized in space. Yet newborns' hearing is not so acute for some parts of the sound spectrum, as it will be when they are older. Sensitivity to sound improves dramatically in infancy and then more slowly at the age of 10 when it reaches adult levels. So the last sentence here, sensitivity to sound improves dramatically in infancy and then more slowly at the age of 10 when it reaches adult levels. This is the statement that describes the topic and gives us the author's opinion or what the author is going to prove here. So, sensitivity to sound improves dramatically in infancy. Okay. That sentence there is what the whole paragraph is talking about. In question 2, or paragraph 2, most mass media evolve through various stages which are initiated not only by the diligence of great inventors such as Thomas Edison, but by social, cultural, political, and economic circumstances. For instance, both telegraph and radio developed as new industrialized nations sought to expand their control over colonies and to transmit information more quickly. The phonograph, too, emerged because of social and economic conditions of a growing middle class with more money and leisure time. Today, the information highway is a contemporary response to similar sets of concerns, transporting messages more rapidly while appealing to middle and upper class consumers. So this sentence addresses the issues, social, cultural, political, and economic circumstances of the evolution of mass media. That's what the rest of this paragraph is talking about. We have here social and economical. Okay? Political is described in this paragraph. Okay? So this sentence summarizes the topic, or summarizes the main points that are described after it. So that first one is going to be your topic sentence. Now, sentence number 4, or paragraph number 4, is going to be a model of that third pattern we looked at. Remember the one I told you that's not going to appear that often, where the topic sentence is actually kind of in the middle of the paragraph? Would people work if they didn't need money? The work of Maslow and Herzberg indicates that money alone is not as strong a motivator as many people believe. So these first two sentences are kind of setting the scene for the topic sentence. It kind of introduces what the topic is going to be, but it doesn't give what the author is going to argue. Almost every study of motivation points to other factors that are more influential in inspiring people to perform better. So that's going to be the sentence that is supported then with the last couple of sentences. Most people will tell you that they work for the money, and of course that is true to a degree. But for most people, their pay remains the same no matter how hard they work on a given day, and sometimes refuse to do a well-paid job, whereas at other times they may work harder than they have to for no money at all. So this talks about the different motivations and why people work. So it's going to support this sentence, which is going to be your topic sentence. And then in the last question number 5, we're going to go back to the topic sentence being the first sentence. Factory farm animals need liberation in the most literal sense. So the topic is going to be factory farm animals, and the author is going to describe or explain why they need Number 5 goes back to the pattern that we see most often, where the topic sentence is the first sentence. Factory farm animals need liberation in the most literal sense. So factory farm animals is going to be your topic, and then the author is going to argue that they need liberation. Okay, that's what the rest of this paragraph is going to be about, why these factory farm animals need the liberation. So, this concludes the video on identifying and understanding topics and main ideas. If you have any questions, please ask your instructor before moving on to the next video. If you're comfortable with this topic, please move on to Module 2, Video 2 on identifying implied main ideas.